everybody and welcome to Past Left Drafts. I'm sure you're all excited to start playing with Zendikar Rising. I can't wait to do my first draft on Arena next Thursday. But I thought we'd take a time now that the full spoiler is out to look at the instant speed opponent could play when you're entering combat, because it's a really important part of the draft process and the gameplay process of the draft, where knowing exactly what your opponent could do can help you make the right choices with blockers and things like that. Do they have a trick which could give their creature trample? Do they have a trick which can give 3 power? What do the 1 mana tricks in a black do? All those types of questions are something really good to know, and hopefully after this video you'll be a little bit more prepared for your pre-releases, for your drafts, and getting those wins, whether it be on Arena or real life if you're lucky enough to do so. So I'll take you through colour by colour in a little bit of mana cost order, although Kicker does kind of mess with that a little bit, but I'll take you through in mana cost order and look at what tricks each colour could be playing against you. So, we'll be order starting with white. The 1-drops, the 2 1-drop tricks. One's Resolute Strike. It's potentially very powerful trick in the right equipment deck, so if there's a big equipment on the field, bear in mind that this is 1 mana, instant speed, +2/+2, plus if it's a warrior, you can attach an equipment to it. There's some really good equipments which are in the set where you can play them and they automatically equip to a creature, but then they've got quite a high equip cost. So this could work quite well with those, just to get a little bit more out of the trick. Might want to think about blocking warriors a little bit more because of this, or not blocking warriors in case they can get really big. But I think this is a potentially very powerful trick in the right deck, the red-white decks with lots of equipment, or any deck which plays equipment. The +2/+2 for 1 mana is already a fine rate, and there's some really cool equipments out there which can do a lot of damage. The other 1 mana trick is Practiced Tactics, and this is basically just a removal spell, attacking a blocking creature. You can deal twice the number of party members, so up to 8 damage, which will take out anything, but even with 1 party member it's going to do 2 damage. I think these party spells are going to be triggering, on average, probably around 2 party members. I think that's going to be their good case. Obviously they can go higher. But yeah, it's fine. It's a removal spell. It doesn't quite do that much for getting through extra damage unless they have a trampler, or unless there's a trampler in the equation, because if you remove the creature, it's got to be attacking or blocking. You can remove their attacking creature, so it's quite a good defensive spell, but when you're attacking, it's not something you need to be worried about. However, that Resolute Strike is very good for when you're being attacked. So you can think about, do they have this Resolute Strike? What would be the impact of this? Looking at 2 mana, we have got 5 different 2-drops, and this is the biggest slide that you'll be seeing all day. 5 2-drops in white. There's a few different things, and there's also this first entrance of Kicker in this video as well. Dortmus Unity, it's the white go wide combat trick in this set that you often get one which gives +1/+1 or +2/+1. This kind of does both, +1/+1 to creatures you control, and if you pay an extra 1 on a white, so pay 4 mana overall, it does gives +2/+1 instead. So if you've got a few small creatures, it can really put the damage through. It can mess with combats, it can mess with the trades, and it can just put a hell of a lot of damage through. So Dortmus Unity is that really aggressive white end of the game ending spell, which can just win the white play of the game. Give you a takedown, Simple Paired Tactics, which I've just looked at, a removal spell. It doesn't rely on the party mechanic, but it is a bit more flexible. You don't have to use it in combat, it can be used before or after combat, but it's not going to be one of these tricks which you really need to watch out for in combat too much. We've also got Pressure Point. Again, it's a little bit of a removal spell. It's a good little spell, but it's not one of the ones that when they're swinging through, they're going to surprise you with, because they're going to want to cast it before you declare blockers. You've also got Disenchant. You could hit equipment, and I think that's a key point of these artifact and enchant removal spells. They can hit the equipments in this set, and they're, like I've already said, there's quite a lot of good equipments in. And then we've got Sajiri Shelter, which is pretty versatile protection, gives protection from a colour, and it can potentially make something unblockable. So again, that's if you're going to make something unblockable, that's not going to happen. That's going to be cast before combat. So in combat, it's basically just going to make 1 elect creature survive. If they cast on a vigilance creature, they might have an extra blocker on the crackback, so they might be swinging out in the position where you could win on the crackback, but they can make 1 elect creature survive or destroy one of your creatures with a spell like this. So these are 2 drops that are available. Obviously, Dortmus Unity, like I said, is also a 4-drop spell. Going into the more expensive spells, we've got Allied Assault, which is a fine combat trick. It gives 2 creatures +X, where X is the number of creatures in your party. So again, possibly giving 2 creatures +2 for 3 mana. It's fine. It'll catch you out once or twice, but I don't think it's going to be the biggest spell in the world. I much prefer the one that we just saw that cares about the equipment instead. And we've also got Smite the Monstrous, which is just a straight up removal spell. Not one that usually sees a huge amount of play, but depends on the format. I haven't noticed any massive creatures in this format, so I don't think it might. I don't think it'll see a huge amount of play, but we'll see. There might be something going on with all these auras and equipments and things like that. Moving on to blue, there's 3 spells in the 1-drop slot. One of which is a flash creature, being a rogue, and rogues are the creatures which seem to have flash in this set. And it's a really good spell on defense. They can flash in before blocks. It'll shrink one of your creatures and block another. Also, it's a flash creature, so it gets another point of power on the board for when they're going to crack back. So I think that's one to really watch out for. It's really useful. It's also quite good in the early game. So if you're attacking with a creature, you're offering a trade. They can shrink your creature, block with a different creature. So say you've both got 2 mana 2/2s out. You can attack, offer the trade for the 2/2. Maybe yours has first strike. They can shrink your creature, and your creature will die in this exchange. So that's not going to be very good for you. So it is definitely something to watch out for. We've seen a few effects a little bit like this in the past, and they are always really good, but the fact it's a flash creature coming in and it can attack back itself, and it's a rogue, so it will trigger some rogue synergies in there as well. It's going to be quite a versatile card, I think. Shell Shield, it's fine. Obviously, quite a defensive spell. Pay 1 mana, gives +0/+3. If you kick, it'll for another 1 generic. It will give the creature hexproof. So it first and foremost is to dodge removal spells, and it's to stop removal spells from ruining the player's day. But it can also be used defensively, just to make their creature a little bit tougher, so it won't die in combat or something like that. Finally, we've got Chill and Trap. Chill and Trap, it can also be used as a shrink creature, used in the early game to trade, just like the Zulaput Duelist would do. And it's quite a useful little spell, but I think out between Chill and Trap and Zulaput Duelist, I probably prefer the Duelist, although Chill and Trap does allow you to draw a card. But just thinking about what's going to happen in combat, I think the one you'd be more scared about in combat when you're going for that last alpha strike is the Zulaput Duelist. Going a bit higher on the curve in blue, we've got Into the Royal. So this is another kicker card, and it says return target non-land permanent opponent controls to its hand. If the spell was kicked, draw a card. So it's a bounce spell, and that's, again, when you're going into these combat situations, it's the thing that you've got to worry about. It might be annoying if you've got an aura creature or even one of these equipments which comes in and equips automatically, then it's got a high equip cost, and that's something to bear in mind. The other one is Bane Veil, I think it's called. And if you're playing the go wide deck and you're attacking it at 2 blue mana, it's something you're going to have to worry about, because they can shrink your whole team. They can take that buff off that we talked about earlier, which gives +2/+1. They can take all the power buff that gives out. And if you're alpha striking and they have the power to attack back, this is something to be worried about that they might have. So just bear that one in mind. Last 2 spells, or last 2 tricks that they could cast is Glacial Grasp. Tap target creature, controller mills 2 cards. The creature doesn't untap in its next untap step. Freezing a creature for a turn. It can be cast before you attack. Tap when your creature's down, really mess with combat, or you can take out a vigilance creature or something like that. But this spell does kind of mess with combat a little bit. However, Living Tempest, I think, is a really, really good card. It's obviously 5 mana, it's a bit bigger, but it can be flashed in. It can block a creature that you weren't expecting, so you've got an extra blocker, and it's still a 3/3 flyer. I think a 3/3 flyer for 5 is already a fairly good rate in a lot of draft formats. Not always the best card, especially if in a more aggro format, but a 3/3 flyer for 5 is playable, and having flash to flash it in to block a creature, it's going to take out a significant number of my 2/2s, I know that for sure. So it's another one to be scared about. Also, you're quite happy to trade this for a 4/3 in certain circumstances. So 5 mana open in blue, this is what I'm going to be worried about most of all, I think. Obviously blue, known for its counter spells, and I think knowing which counter spells to play around is also useful. And something that you can pick out here is 3 of the 4 counter spells are all taxing effects. So you can not be countered if you're willing to pay extra mana, or if you're able to play extra mana. The exception here being negate. So knowing about the different spells they could have and whether or not you can pay out with them is useful, and it can potentially let you play around some tricks. If you've got an alright little 1 mana trick, or you want to play a big beefy 5 mana creature, it sometimes might be better to play that 1 mana trick just to get around the counter spells. Of course, negate can counter it all day, and anti-cognition, if you've got a lot of cards in your graveyard, can also counter things all day, but I think it's quite important to point out there's no cancels in the format, there's no essence scatters. We've got these taxon effects, and that is something that you can definitely play around. Moving on to black. There's only one black 1-drop spell, and that's Malkia Rebirth. It's an effect that we've seen before. It's one of these dual-faced cards, the modal dual-faced cards, where the other side's a land. So these generally have a poor rate compared to spells we've seen in the past, but they are also a land, which is really, really important when you're building your decks. That's a whole different video, though. So Malkia Rebirth, choose target creature, you lose 2 life until end of turn. That creature gains. When it dies, return to the battlefield under its owner's control. So it can die and come back, and it could be a blocker. So it can die, come back. If it's got an ATB effect, that also affects things. But I think paying 2 life is also quite key in these situations. If you're both down to quite low life totals and you're really swinging out, they might not be able to pay that 2 life. So for all, you should be wary about this card. Also think about what that 2 life is going to cost them. So it's a great design card. I think actually paying 2 life on this is a great cost, and it really makes the gameplay that little bit more interesting, that little half step more interesting. And I think it's a good include. It's also a great play, great card to play with. At 2 mana, we've got Oblivion's Hunger. It is a alright trick. It gives indestructible. It gives you put a +1/+1 counter. Note that counter does stick around, and the +1/+1 counter is in green-black. So those counters could have uses, and there could be more reason to have the counters on creatures more than just the creature being bigger. Subtle Strike as well puts a +1/+1 counter on a creature, but it also gives another creature -1/-1. So you could win 2 separate instances of combat with this. One creature pair, you shrink their creature. The other creature pair, you grow your creature, and you can come out really, really on top. Same, obviously the other goes the other way around, so bear in mind if they're playing black, 2 mana open, I think the Subtle Strike is the one that you're really going to be worried about, and think about what they could do with that. It's also common, so you'll be seeing quite a lot of it, and I'll be playing almost every single one of these that I can. I think it's great. Little removal spell if need be, grows your creature, and just messes up with combat a lot. So, fantastic card, and again, instant speed, obviously. Going a bit higher on the curve for black. Removal spell, Vanquish the Weak, nothing huge to say about it. Destroy creature power 3 or less. It's playable, definitely playable, and we'll probably see quite a few creatures with power 3 or less. Soul Shatter. This is an interesting one. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker with the highest converted mana cost among creatures or planeswalkers they control. And usually this will take out your best creature, hands down. And it costs 3 mana. It gets around indestructible, it gets around all these things. So bear in mind, it is a rare, so that's you're not going to say a huge amount, but it's going to make some interesting gameplay. If they're taking out some of your small creatures and leaving the big creature for whatever reason, maybe think about them having this. That's going to be something that they could well have. Final one, another Flash Rogue. It is Niminus Skydancer, and this one won't survive when it's flashed in, but it is pretty good. It also mills cards when it comes in. It's flying, so it can help with the crackback and get it above any blockers that you might leave up on the ground, and definitely one to think about. Again, also it triggers a lot of those rogue synergies that might be popping up. So quite a lot going on with that card there. Moving on, we've got a couple of removal spells in black. I think a big thing to say here is remember about the party mechanic. For all Deadly Alliance, looks like a 5 mana card. It could easily be a 3 mana card. So keep an eye on the board. Keep an eye on how much party they have, because that can affect the how effective this spell is going to be. Hagar Morwen, pretty basic removal spell. Very good. Another dual face card, and it's your catch-all destroy target creature spell in black. Okay, so 3 colours out the way, going on to red. First of all, we've got Spikefield Hazard. Really interesting spell here again. It deals 1 damage to a creature. If it dies, it's turned exile instead. It can obviously ping off some 1 toughness creatures, or it can be used to help take out some other creatures. If you've got a creature with a really good dies ability, then watch out for this card, because if they block with a 2-power creature and they finish it off with this, then your creature is going to be exiled instead. Also, they could just offer a block, which would kill your creature normally, but they could cast this first and it'll exile the creature when it dies. So that might be relevant. If they're leaving red mana open, watch out for this. I think it's a really cool little card, and again, another dual face card, so it can be used in a few different ways. Another thing to point out with this one is it can hit face, so that 1 damage to the face might just be that last point of damage that they can get through. At 2-drop, we've got Cinderclasm. It's a board wipe, and it's instant speed. You don't often see board wipes at instant speed, especially at the lower rarities. And yes, it can only do 2 damage if you put 3 mana in, but that's going to be a lot in enough board states. So I think this is one that I would be worried about, especially when they're attacking, and they've got quite a lot of big creatures, and I've got quite a lot of small creatures. Inordinate Rage, fairly standard pump spell, gives 3 power for 2 mana. You got the Scry on there as well. Doesn't give trample or anything like that. Doesn't give first strike. So yeah, it's fine. It'll get played, but it's not something that I'd be overly worried about if I was making blocks. Obviously, if you have a creature which you leave an unblocked, it can be cast on that. But there's worse things in the world. You've also got Sizzling Barrage. It's a removal spell. Deals 4 damage to target creature that's blocked this turn. That doesn't mean that you can't cast it before damage. You can cast it before damage and save your creature from dying from the blocker. But it's a fairly basic removal spell. Again, it's going to be one of these cards which doesn't do a lot without having trample. Moving on again, more stuff in red. We've got Khazil's Fury. Additional cast, sacrifice creature, deals its damage to its power to any target. It's going to be a fling, so it's a fling, 3 mana fling, costs more because it's a dual face card, but this can be cast on a big creature. They can attack with it for 5, 6, whatever, and then fling to finish you off. So that's definitely something that I would be thinking about when looking at these cards which can have effects. If you think you're going to survive with 5 life and maybe get back on the crackback or stabilize or something like that, they could always have this in hand to fling their big creature at you. So definitely want to watch out for. We've also got Molten Blast. Basically it's a Battle Braid, but Battle Braid is still quite a good card. 2 damage to any creature or planeswalker, so that's a little improvement. Or destroy target artifact. Again, destroying an artifact could be useful if you've got equipments, so bear that a little bit in mind as well. At the top end, we've got Synchronized Spellcraft. It deals 4 damage to target creature, X to that creature's controller, where X is the number of creatures in the party. So this can hit you in the face for up to 4 damage. Again, keep an eye on the party. If they could have this, it's common. It's 5 mana for 4 damage, and it can deal damage to your face at the same time. It's going to get played. We'll see how much it gets played when we start drafting. We'll start feeling what the set works like as a whole. But at the top end, this is what's going to be there. I think there's other cards to watch out for in red. But obviously, if they look like they have a party deck, or even if they've only got like a warrior and a wizard, which they could well do in these colours, dealing 2 damage to your face as well as removing a creature is going to be something that they could do. Moving on to a final colour in green, 1 mana, there's only Vastwood Fortification. As mentioned before, green-black has the +1/+1 counter synergies, so this could be doing a little bit more than just adding 1 power toughness to their creature. So just think, do they have any +1/+1 counter synergies on the board? Is there anything which is going to benefit from another +1/+1 counter being put elsewhere? If so, this could be quite a key card for them. We've then got 2 mana cards. Both of these are 2 mana cards, but with a kicker of 2 and a green. We've got Might of Marasa. It's a pretty standard pump spell. Gives +3/+3. If you kick it, it gives +5/+5. The rate that you get for the kick spell isn't great, but hey, if you've got the extra mana, might as well spend it to get a little bit more of an effect. The Inscription of Abundance. This is a cycle of rare spells, and they're all modal spells where you can choose 1, but if you kick it, you can choose all 3. And this is the only one of this cycle which is instant. And I think that's going to make it one of the better cards in these formats. Instant speed, you can put for 5 mana, you can put 2 counters on a creature and fight at instant speed. And fight at instant speed isn't something that you see a huge amount because it really messes with combat and it does make for some quite interesting gameplay. It's also got a 2 mana just being a fight or put 2 +1/+1 counters on something. That's just a really, really good rate. So I think it's a card that I'd be very happy to pick up in draft. I'd happily pick one this. But also it's something I'd be scared about happening from the other side. I think part of the trick is going to be to choose when to play it, whether you're going to cast it for its lower cost or its kick cost, but it can really, really devastate the board. Grow 1 creature, remove 1 of your creatures, job's done. Moving up, or down if you count the kick costs, we've got the 3 mana spells. I'll come back to Royal and Regrowth in a second. We've got the Kalani Ambush. where it's another instant speed fight spell. So 2 different spells in green. Fair enough, one's uncommon and one's rare, but 2 different spells in green which can fight at instant speed. That's going to be something that you're going to have to keep in the back of your mind. We've also got Broken Wings, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature flying. Again, it's a little bit more useful than normal because of the equipments in the set. So destroying equipments with this might be quite opportune. It's still probably going to be a sideboard card, so we won't be seeing a lot of it. Royal and Regrowth is a card which doesn't look like a combat trick at first. There was some instant speed blue cards which I didn't talk about because they're all kind of anticipate type effects where you're drawing cards and it's not really going to affect combat. But Royal and Regrowth, it only messes about with lands, but with landfall being a mechanic in the set, getting 2 landfall triggers, if they've got 2 landfall creatures on deck and each one's going to get +2/+2 or some other benefit from 2 landfall triggers, this could be a really, really big spell in that deck. So late game, got a couple of landfall creatures that are attacking in, they can make those creatures huge or can have some other big effect. So often they're kind of costed, so you get 1 landfall trigger a turn, and they're quite good with that. And if you manage to get 2, they're really, really good. So Royal and Regrowth, I think, is something which will catch people off guard because they won't be expecting 2 lands to come down, especially early in the format. So bear that one in mind. On the gold cards, we've got 3 gold cards which have either flash or are instant speed cards themselves. Spoils an Adventure, pretty standard blue-white card. Gain some life, draw some cards, but it could save your opponent from that lethal attack that you're making and give them enough gas to come back next turn. We've then got the 2 blue-black flash rogues. One of them is a rare, and for good reason. First of all, we've got Sauron Thor Thief. It's a 1/3 flash flyer. It buffs the rogues that's on the field, so if they're attacking you, they could play this and give their rogues some extra power. If you're attacking them, they can play this, they can block with this, buff their other rogues, and also have some of these rogue synergies as well. It's got quite a lot going on. Obviously, the rogues is the blue-black thing, and this is the showcase uncommon for the set. But I think even scarier card is the Zareth San. It's a really, really interesting. It's got this ninjutsu type ability where when another rogue's attacking, you can pay 4 mana to put this in instead of that creature. And for those who haven't came across ninjutsu before, bear in mind, after blocks are declared, if you've left one of their rogues unblocked, they can put this in. And it's got such a powerful ability when it deals damage to the opponent. I think this is going to be one of those really scary cards in the format, one that you're really going to be hoping the opponents haven't opened at the table. Because if you open this pack 1, you're taking it and you're drafting rogues as much as you can. And you don't even need that many rogues for it to work. But what this does is it reanimates a creature from your graveyard. So another thing to keep an eye on with this, if you're playing against a rogue deck, is what's in your graveyard, what's going to happen, and what's the effect if they bring something like that back. So, lots of things going on in the set. I'm really looking forward to draft it. Keep an eye on the channel for some videos that we'll be putting out soon. We'll be on Friday night, Saturday morning, we'll be putting out our first draft video. We might get something out in the meantime. Keep an eye on the channel. If you look down the bottom, you can like, subscribe, keep the bells for notification so you know what's coming and when. And I hope to see you all soon. Thanks. Bye.